quorum. Thank you, Jim. It being 6:02 and us having quorum, I am going to take over the activities of the chair as the chair and vice chair are absent today, and call this meeting of the Port Orchard Planning Commission to order. Let's take a moment to introduce ourselves as commissioners. I'm Joe Morrison, commissioner. Let's go with folks in the room.
Stephanie Bailey.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, Joe.
Tyler Mosky.
Hello, Tyler. And online we have
David Bernstein.
Okay, and I'm showing an Alex Campbell. Is he our consultant for the public participation plan? Perfect, perfect, perfect. I will. I'm still one of these Neanderthals who use one screen, so I'm sort of jumping back and forth. Let's take a moment to say the Pledge of Allegiance, if we could, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's been a while since I've done this. Okay. Do we have any members of the public in the Chambers planning team?
No.
Okay.
You have one attending through Zoom.
Okay. If the attendee on Zoom, Paul, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand and we will give you the floor for 3 minutes. And we'll give you, okay. So we're going to have Paul speak in a moment here. And Paul, the floor will be yours, and we'll give you 3 minutes to say what you need to say. Thank you for joining us today.
And Chair, just to clarify, this would be comments other than those items which are advertised as a public hearing on tonight's agenda.
Thank you for that clarification. And planning team, please keep your quarterbacking chair who's stepping in. Please keep me on the straight and narrow. Thank you. So. Paul, anything you want to say that's not on the agenda? Because we will give you the opportunity to speak to the agenda at the appropriate time in the agenda. Go right ahead, Paul.
Sure. Yeah, I've been a resident of Port Orchard my entire life. First time attending one of these meetings, so it's just a good opportunity to get involved, and I appreciate that from all of you guys. I do want to say I think that over the past few years, you guys have made some pretty good efforts to try and make Port Orchard a little bit more diverse, and how in the setup of different infrastructures and things like that for people of all socioeconomic backgrounds, and that's good. I think one issue that still is yet to be addressed in its totality is car dependency throughout all of Port Orchard. Certainly it tends to be an issue. I live downtown, so I'm a little luckier in that sense where I can walk and bike places I need to go. However, the infrastructure is certainly not set up to support that. I think that it's a place where we can improve upon, and it's in general, but I feel that that's a direction we really need to be going. More and more is moving away from sole car dependency and moving to other options of transportation, like expanding public transportation and just the ability to safely walk and bike around town. So that's just all I wanted to address for.
Well, thanks, Paul, and thanks for being here. We always enjoy it when members of the public come to the Planning Commission, and we wrestle with things to make our community's lives better. So we're happy that you're here and engaged, and your comments on transportation and pedestrian friendliness will be noted. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think we have to look at the minutes first. Let me just double check my handy dandy agenda. Yes, indeed. Approval of the minutes from September 6th, 2022. These minutes, I believe, were slightly adjusted to be a little tidied. The Planning Commission should have received them by email. Does anybody have any questions or want to make a motion?
I have a potential edit. Josie or Jim, the hard copy that I received, is that the most updated version?
No, that would have not been. There was a revised minutes that went out.
Okay. And was the revision the chair's name? Because I noted that it says that Chair Stewart adjourned the meeting, but it was actually Vice Chair Ashby.
Okay, I will make that. Thank you.
That was my only comment on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other edits or comments on the minutes from September from the Planning Commissioners? Would anyone like to make a motion?
I would make a motion to approve the minutes from the October 4th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting as modified.
Thank you, Stephanie.
You bet.
I'll second.
Okay, I will call for a vote, presuming that there's no further discussion. All in favor, please raise your hands and say aye. Aye. Okay. Minutes are so approved. We will now enter the described agenda for the business items of the meeting. And Nick Bond, Planning Director, has requested that the public participation plan be moved forward. Unless there is an objection from the commissioners, can I get a thumbs up from all the commissioners that this makes sense to do this?
Sounds good.
Okay, all the commissioners approved the adjustment to the agenda. Jim, did you want to say something before we move into this?
Yeah, there are two items on the agenda that we would like to postpone it until at least the December meeting. Sorry, I'm a month behind. That would be the stormwater comprehensive plan and also the temporary sign regulation discussion.
Okay. I have some feedback on the sign regulations, but we can maybe handle that in open discussion at the end of the meeting, if that works for folks. What's the planning team's preference on that?
So we are waiting to meet with the city attorney about the temporary sign regulations. And so there were some concerns from our attorney that we wanted to work through before we have further discussion and make sure that we're not steering this thing in the wrong direction. So my preference would be if you have comments to communicate them with Jim or Josie directly or via email, and then we can resume the conversation next month.
That sounds great. So I'll call for a vote to table these items until December shortly. And if commissioners have feedback for the planning team related to the draft sign ordinance, because the planning team is seeking guidance from legal, we're not going to discuss it at this time, but if you have thoughts, please email Nick, Josie, and Jim directly. Do you have a point here, Jim? You need to, you're good. Go ahead, Jim.
No, I was saying you can send them directly to me.
Send them, okay, send them to Jim. Sounds wonderful. Okay. With that said, does anybody want to discuss further? I mean, I guess we need a motion to move these items, to table these items to December. I will go ahead and make this motion. So I am going to motion, and then it needs to be seconded. It can be discussed. If not discussed, it can be voted upon. I'm going to motion that we table the comprehensive plan discussion and the draft sign ordinance, temporary sign ordinance, until the December meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Does anybody want to discuss this further before we vote on it? Okay, all in favor, please say aye, raise your hand so we know that the vote's in.
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. is there anything else, planning team, before we move on with the public participation section of today's meeting? All right, well, let's move to that portion of the agenda.
Yeah, I can kick off and give an introduction here. Before you tonight is a first draft of our public participation plan for the 2024 comprehensive plan update. The city has hired a consultant to assist with this project, AHBL, and Alex Campbell is in the audience tonight, and he's mostly here just to listen to any feedback that you have, rather than having us try to interpret your feedback and then send it to him in an email in the morning. We are required to have a public participation plan as we embark on the comprehensive plan update. It outlines all of the parameters for public outreach, opportunities to participate in the planning process. And the document largely resembles the public participation plan that we used in our 2016 periodic update. And so it's been updated with new contact information and sort of outlines the process and objectives for this next update. I think that it's ready for a public hearing, in my opinion, at our December meeting, but we wanted to make sure that the planning commission had time to provide any feedback or ask questions before we schedule that public hearing and bring it for a vote in December. Jim, is there anything I missed?
Well, that sums it up. We did post it online on the city webpage, and tonight we promoted this public participation plan on Facebook. So we're trying to get everybody involved that we can as quickly as possible and as early as possible.
Just leaving some open space for discussion. I want to reverse gear just a little bit. We just voted to table two things. One was the signed ordinance. The other I thought was any discussion of the comprehensive plan update.
Second item was the stormwater comprehensive plan, not the public participation plan for the comprehensive plan update.
So noted. I wasn't clear, but unless anybody has a deep desire to revisit that, we will indicate that was the intent of the planning commissioners right here. Okay, so we're all presumably okay with the motion to table those items as it passed. Yeah, still thumbs up, okay. All right, is there anything, does your contractor, Mr. Campbell, have anything that he wants to discuss with us related to the public participation plan? Do you want to show any slides? Do you just want to get our feedback on the comprehensive plan update and the importance of engaging the community?
Yeah, hi, this is Alex Campbell with AHBL. I think our intention tonight was to get this first draft of the public participation plan in front of you guys so you have the opportunity to look at it. Really, this is going to be our guiding document as we engage the public throughout this comprehensive plan update. This kind of outlines how we're going to do it and when. So to get you guys familiar with that process and get your sign off ahead of a public hearing on this, I think would be beneficial on our end, and then we can kind of get this public engagement piece rolling for the overall process.
On my end, I'm jumping around the Zoom to look at the Excel spreadsheet that is a Gantt chart of what happens when. I see Commissioner Bernstein has some questions. Go ahead, Commissioner Bernstein.
Yeah, the last time we did this was in 2016, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And what was the public participation like at that time? And what are we doing? What are you hoping to get from public participation this time?
Well, I think the 2016 update was a much more major overhaul of our comprehensive plan than what we're going to be doing in 2024. I think we were, the previous planning document that we had so much information. It was just like piled into the plan that we really tried to synthesize the plan down to its basic requirements under the Growth Management Act, consistent with our regional growth strategy at PSRC, as well as the countywide planning policies. And so we really did try to make the document more readable, shorter, more succinct. I think PSRC and our KRCC, which is the Kitsap Regional Coordinating Council, they have adopted recent policy changes to the region, and we have to go through and we have to kind of make sure that we've checked all the boxes in terms of what has to be updated in our plan. Department of Commerce also is going to have a checklist to make sure that we've addressed all the changes in state law. And so I don't envision this as much as a ground up rewrite of our comprehensive plan as it is just touching up those areas that have changed in state law or from PSRC. There are some new things that we have to consider though that aren't in our previous plans. And so equity, climate are two new pieces that we haven't addressed in our plan significantly in our previous iteration. So we will be spending more time on that. There's also a lot of change as it relates to housing affordability, and we're working on a housing action plan separate from our comprehensive plan. And so I would expect some chapters are going to get touched more than others in terms of how much work is done. In 2016, we had for the 2016 update, which was most of the work was in 2014, we had a team of master's students from the University of Washington that came and helped us do public outreach. They went to the farmers market. They really got out into the community and gathered information. We're still a small planning staff, and so that's part of the reason that we brought in consultants, is they have tools that they can deploy, and they're assisting us in that public outreach effort. So we're hoping that we'll have better turnout. Jim has been working with Alex and his team on a handout that will go out in our utility bills. And so in November and December, there will be a flyer that goes out that will have a QR code where people can scan with their phone and then go take a survey online. Jim's frowning at me.
Yeah, that's the housing action plan. Which will
Yeah, sorry, that's the housing action plan, public outreach on the state. It's easy to get confused with all of these plans. In any event, we'll be doing a significant amount of outreach to the community as we go through this update. And but again, we're not recreating our vision for the city as much as we are just updating the goals and policies to reflect changes in law and in our regional documents.
Is there any other feedback from our commissioners for either planning staff or Mr. Campbell related to the outreach portion of this plan? Does the planning staff have any questions they want to ask the planning commission about this portion of the agenda? With that said, I think we can close this portion of the agenda and move on to the previous item A, which is temporary entry signage for subdivisions, if I believe that's correct. Is that right, Jim?
That's close, yes.
We'll go with close. Okay, so please go ahead, Jim. And thanks, Alex, for being here.
Just as a senior planner for the city of Port Orchard, currently, 20.132 does not provide standards for freestanding signs related to subdivision entries. In fact, most subdivisions are not permitted freestanding signage based on the associated residential zoning designation. UMC 20.132.210(2)B requires a freestanding sign to be located a minimum of 30 feet from any residential zone property. However, if a property is residentially zoned, the freestanding sign cannot be 30 feet from the property which it would be constructed for itself. The proposed code amendment creates a freestanding sign type permitted in residential districts with specific development regulations related to sign area and height. The amendment creates certain location requirements in relation to subdivision entry points and defines what a subdivision entry sign is. Staff introduced regulations for subdivision entry signs at the October 4th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, where the Planning Commission requested that staff continue to review the entry signage and develop an ordinance to amend the Orchard Municipal Code creating this sign type. Staff discussed the current proposal with Land Use Committee at the October 19th, 2022 Land Use Committee meeting, where they directed staff to continue with the current proposal as drafted. Staff notified the Department of Commerce of the proposed changes on October 14th and requested an expedited 15-day review for comment after issuance of the secret determination of non-significance on October 14th, 2022. At the October 4th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting, staff was directed to schedule a public hearing for tonight's Planning Commission meeting. Public notice for tonight's public hearing was properly noticed consistent with the requirements of POMC 20.25 on October 14th, 2022. As of today, the Department of Community Development has not received any comments regarding the proposed code. Proposed language to be included in the ordinance are presented for the Planning Commission's review and recommendation to the City Council.
Thank you, Jim. With that, let's open this item up for discussion amongst the planning commissioners. The Planning Commission has seen this in previous meetings, and there was a public comment period, and this is the public hearing. And I take it, Jim, there's Paul is still here as an attendee. Do any members of the public, and I think I have to do this right, Nick, correct me if I don't, do any members of the public wish to discuss or comment on this proposed ordinance?
And you officially need to say that you're opening a public hearing.
We will open the public hearing on this item related to subdivision sign ordinance. Paul has his hand up.
Was that to the sign ordinance you said?
Yeah, this is the temporary sign ordinance for subdivision entry points. This is not a larger ordinance debating whether or not we should permit and how we permit temporary signs across the city and in public right-of-ways.
For clarification, this is for a permanent freestanding sign type. They're not temporary.
Understood. I have no comment.
Thank you, Paul. But we'll continue to provide you the opportunity to comment on other portions of the agenda. If you have comments, just raise your hand. The other portions of the agenda will be, let's see, a housekeeping ordinance that just tidies up what just areas of inconsistency in planning code. And I don't recall what we didn't table. Oh, I think maybe we did it, actually. So we'll be back. You'll get another opportunity, Paul. Do the planning commissioners wish to discuss this ordinance that has been open for public comment period related to subdivision entry signs?
I have a few questions. Does the public hearing be closed before the planning commission discusses?
That is
Or do I have to close it? Okay, I will close it, and the commissioners can speak on this portion of the agenda related to subdivision entry signs. Stephanie, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes, a couple of questions for city staff. Under subdivision entrance sign, page 8, it talks about the maximum area per face of roughly 100 square feet. When you move to page 12, the definition of face, it implies that the face is just the area where there's lettering. So I'm trying to just better understand, is the sign itself, its entire body, limited to 100 square feet, or just the portion with font?
The sign face, we lacked a definition for face, and that's littered throughout the code. So we included that for clarification when we were processing permits. So a subdivision entry sign, the base of that sign must be 100% the width of the sign. So when we're measuring the base, and it's 100 square feet, how they get to that point, it could vary, right? But they can't exceed 100 square feet. they can't exceed the height, but the width could be quite significant. And so in some instances, subdivision, once you have an entry sign that's lower, but much wider. And so this allows them that flexibility. But in any instance, the base is as wide as that sign.
Okay, so the 100 square feet is the entire sign as opposed to just the writing within.
It is the writing within it, but the base of it, it is essentially drawing a square around the text. And that is the sign base.
Okay, so the signs have the potential to be larger than 100 square feet and all.
The base is as wide as the base. I mean, I don't think that you're ever going to find a sign that is 100 feet wide, right? I mean, they're going to go, let's say, the overall height is 5 feet. So that sign, if you go to the maximum height, could be 20 feet long.
All right, thank you. One other question. And that was on page, oh, never mind, that's on temporary signs. All of a sudden, you'll email you. That's all I have for subdivision signs.
You're muted.
Oh, the curse of Zoom. I said thank you, Stephanie, and do any of the other planning commissioners have questions or wish to discuss these revisions? Proposed revisions. With no other comments, I will entertain a motion. There is a recommended motion in the packet for the planning commission. And that recommended motion is on page, I'm going to try to bring it up. Again, printing things out is helpful. It's on page 6 of the PDF, or at least it's on page 6 of my PDF.
I move to recommend that the city council approve an ordinance amending Port Orchard Municipal Code 20.132 as presented.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye and raise your hand if possible.
Aye.
Aye. The motion so passes. And looking through our agenda, going back, give me a quick second. We are moving on to discussion of POMC Title 20 annual housekeeping amendments. Jim, please go ahead.
Jim Fisk, Senior Planner, City of Port Orchard. DTD staff continually tracks errors, inconsistencies, outdated references, and omissions in Title 20 POMC. And gathers these into one corrections ordinance each year, generally known as the annual Title 20 ordinance. These proposed corrections to Title 5, 10, and 20 of 2022 have been identified and the proposed action from the Planning Commission's review. Staff introduced the code sections identified to be addressed in the housekeeping ordinance at the September 6th Planning Commission meeting. At the October 4th Planning Commission meeting, staff provided an explanatory document listing each correction in numerical order, in red line, strikeout, underline format, with explanations of the head change. Planning Commission directed staff to schedule a public hearing regarding the amendments at tonight's Planning Commission meeting. Before tonight's Planning Commission meeting, staff discussed the housekeeping amendments with the Land Use Committee at the October 19th meeting, and the Land Use Committee directed staff to continue with the current proposal as drafted. Staff notified the Department of Commerce of the proposed changes on October 14th and requested an expedited 15-day review for comment after the issuance of the secret determination of non-significance on the same date. The Department of Commerce has indicated that the proposed amendments will require a 60-day review. Public notice for tonight's public hearing was properly noticed consistent with the requirements of POMC 20.25 on October 14th at the date of that's tonight's meeting. As of today, the Department of Community Development has not received any comments regarding the proposed code amendment. The proposed language to be included in the ordinance are presented for the Planning Commission's review and recommendation to the City Council.
Thank you, Jim. And planning staff and team, please put me in my place if I mess this up. I will now open the public hearing. Thank you on this proposed ordinance changes to code. Paul, I think you're the only member of the public here. This is really an annual cleanup of inconsistencies in planning code that the team does every year. If you have anything you want to say, just press the raise your hand button. We'll let you speak. Otherwise, we'll discuss it as commissioners and entertain motions. Okay, I don't see a hand. Thank you, Paul. I will now close the public hearing and offer this up to our planning commissioners. Planning commissioners, we've seen the proposed housekeeping amendments for quite some time now. In addition, we see this every year. Did you have anything you want to discuss, commissioners, related to the housekeeping amendments for planning code?
I did not.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. Just give it a couple more seconds. Yeah, we've been looking at this for quite some time, and I think if we had questions, they came up quite some time ago. Does anybody want to make a motion? There's a recommended motion in association with this packet. Amendment, agenda item even.
Make a motion. Okay.
Hey, Tyler, thank you for doing that. We appreciate it.
I move to recommend that the city council approves an ordinance amending and Portage Municipal Code to titles 5, 10, and 20 for housekeeping purposes as presented.
Second.
All right. I don't think there's further discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Vote aye.
I,
Okay. The motion so passes. I think, and so I'm going to just ask the planning staff this question. I think that was most of your agenda today because we tabled 2 items. We covered 3. I'm going to look at the agenda to see what else is on it. It's just straight adjournment. I will, oh, Dave's got something. Dave.
yeah, since to kind of add a little discussion tonight went on the short side. And I've been on the planning commission for quite a few years. But I still find myself driving through the town and seeing some project happening and having no idea what's going on. Is there a possibility that we can get a summary or a spreadsheet of kind of what projects and their stage? I presume you must have one already created for keeping track of all the different projects going around the town. I mean, I don't remember where the status is of the upgrade for Sedgwick and Bethel Road corridors. There's a new project over here on Sedgwick that I have no clue what it is. And considering that we're on the commission, it'd be nice to be kind of in the know. I get people say, oh, you're on the commission. What are they doing over there? I see they're tearing down trees and digging up the dirt. What's going to be there? And I have no clue. We're so busy doing codes and ordinances that we don't know what's actually happening, boots on the ground.
Sure. So we actually had Josie make a nice handout for the mayor to give to the city council, and we just provided that, I think, a month or 2 ago. So it's fairly up to date, and it didn't occur to me to send it to you, but we will get you a link in your email real soon.
Terrific. That would be really handy to have and kind of keep us on the loop of what's actually happening. Because I do have people come up and ask me what's going on here or there.
Sure. And I can tell you the hole on Sedgwick that you are seeing is a Starbucks or a coffee shop. I don't know if it's officially Starbucks yet. And they're doing a mixed use apartment building is what they've applied to build next to it.
Okay. And where are we with the Bethel and Sedgwick corridor road work?
Yeah, so the city signed a contract with a design consultant to actually do the engineering on phase 1 of the Bethel project. The city council in September, I believe, I think I was out of town for that meeting, but they voted to approve a 0.1% sales tax measure. The legislature gave us a new tool in the toolbox for paying for things like transportation projects. And so the city council approved that sales tax measure to fund the design and hopefully all of phase one construction, though at the rate that costs are going up, we really need to see how the sales tax comes in over the next few years and get better cost estimates from the engineer as we get further into design. So that Bethel phase one project includes a roundabout at Blueberry in Bethel and a roundabout at Salmonberry in Bethel, plus a complete street in between the two roundabouts and related improvements on Salmonberry and on Ramsey to allow for bypass traffic during construction. So we are moving forward with that, and I believe the goal is to hopefully go out to construction in 2025 on the first part of Bethel. I can also tell you, just south of the Salmonberry roundabout, Home Depot has approached the city about resurrecting their project, and as part of our discussions with them, we are talking about transportation improvements, and so it's likely that we'll get transportation improvements even a little bit further to the north. I think I said south earlier, then north, on Bethel towards the signal at Walmart. So I'm hopeful that in a few years we will be breaking ground on a significant improvement project on Bethel, which is only the first of many phases in what's needed out there, but you got to start somewhere.
Terrific, thank you. Those insights help. It's nice to have a better idea of what's happening in timeframes. And I remember the Bethel Sedgwick corridor is a many-year project, and I remember there's counting 7 or 8 traffic circles in total. So that's when I'll have to just kind of be reminded about every so often, because I know it's just a long process on that one. But thank you for the info.
Really, 7 or 8?
Do the planning commissioners have anything else they want to discuss before we entertain a motion to adjourn? Can I just adjourn, or do we entertain motions to adjourn? What do we do, Nick?
I think the planning commission has historically been pretty informal, but you can make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, well, anything else you folks want to discuss?
We're good.
Thumbs up from Dave. Tyler, thumbs up. You're good. Stephanie, anything else? Okay. I hope that the planning staff of the city of Port Orchard know that while we have a responsibility to be public servants and volunteers in this aspect, we also hope to be supportive of you. So if there are things you need, please let us know so we can be helpful. We know what you do is really difficult, and we thank you for your work every day. Our city's growing, and dealing with that growth is not easy, but it is at the moment somewhat inevitable. At any rate, I will make a motion to adjourn currently at, I can't get my 6:41 p.m. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Let's vote on adjournment. All in favor? That's a night. Thank you, everybody. If you need anything, please reach out. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Night.